What's up, traders? Matt from the Trade Brigade here doing a technical analysis on ticker symbol PSFE for Paysafe Limited. Of course, on the left-hand side, we are looking at the daily time frame, and on the right-hand side, the 30-minute intraday time frame. These guys did get an earnings announcement before the bell or post-market on Friday, whatever you want to classify it as, but obviously there has been some significant damage done to this chart. If you remember our last video on this particular setup here, we were saying that it looked fairly bearish, that we had this range of consolidation, we closed underneath support, and we're also continually forming lower highs from this daily perspective, thus giving us the opportunity to just draw in a resistance trend line. So the outlook wasn't good on this one to begin with here, and obviously there was some follow through, a gap and go to the downside on today's session. So zooming in on what went on the 30-minute perspective, just to see what is potentially salvageable. How was the close? Just looking at the daily candle, I'm sure you can tell the close was not good, right? So let's see what is going on with our Fibonacci's. We'll go from the high of the move to the low of the first one, just to gauge the first sort of move that occurred here. Let me clean up this chart, make it so you can see it a little bit better here, expanding some things. There we go. That is much nicer to look at. So on the left, or excuse me, right-hand side 30-minute chart, you can see after the first drive lower on the dead cat bounce, we went to the 38.2, which is respectable, right? When you get there, you're like, okay, that's a healthy move to retrace after a, momentum drive in either direction. But what happens at that point in time then becomes critical. Do you start retracing and recapturing more and more of these Fibonacci retracements? And the move here was clearly no. We got here and another sharp drop occurred, taking us underneath the low of the day. Now, when that happens, you can then take your Fibonacci's, clean them up, and redraw them to that new low. So we'll go again from the highs to the lows this time and check out, the entire daily range. Did we even come back up and reattempt this 38.2? Absolutely not. You can see that we just sort of dribbled lower, consolidated lower. Price was accepting down here instead of rejecting. If this was price rejection, it would have done something like this and probably traded back up towards this 9, which we know is a critical area of resistance. So going forward, knowing that, let's go ahead and do something like this, okay? So we'll break out our price tool. We know that this is an area of interest. I would call it a zone probably between 895 and up to some of these wicks in here, 902. Just look at 9 the whole dollar, right? Treat it as a zone. It doesn't have to be exact, 9 to the penny, but somewhere in this area. That is the first major point of resistance. After that, obviously, you're looking at the high of the day, and then there's potential for the gap to start to fill up towards that 1025 mark. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but that would be the next area that the chart should go if price does start to retrace. But as we just discussed, a pretty weak close here. Now, looking at our daily time frame chart, is there anything that stands out as support underneath us? And the answer is no, right? There's really no trade history here, so there's nothing we can really speculate on. I would argue if we start to take out this area in here, $8.54, you're just looking at 50 cent, or rather on something trading sub 10 at this point. Look at 10 cent marks, 25 cent marks, 50 cent marks, and whole dollars, of course, to the downside to develop. If we just check in on the options chain, what you'll notice is that there is actually some decent volume transacting here. A couple of strikes are trading in the thousands of contracts, which is what you want to see, of course, if you want to take any sort of size, 10, 20 contracts at a time here. So that is a good thing. It is shortable via puts, but certainly not via shares. Remember, hard to borrow here on Thinkorswim, but we are looking for some more downside to develop, essentially, given how, this chart has developed. So things aren't looking so good for Paysafe. If you enjoyed the video, if you learned anything new, let me know down below in the comments section or by giving the video a thumbs up. Don't forget our main channel is linked in the description, and all of that being said, we wish you a green trading week.